So it's not marketing, just putting a parcel in front of the sales door. Here are the leads, but you need to make sure that they are taken on. And this is something where revenue operations also comes in to also prepare the right reports, to prepare the right reminders, to prepare like everything that the BDR or the SDR team has to really be quick on getting back to those leads.
Oh yes, this is the Hardcore Marketing Show. I'm Casey Cheshire, your host for this epic journey. Today's show is sponsored by Ringmaster, on a mission to launch B2B podcasts that create relationships, generate revenue, and drive growth. Ringmasterlive.com. Bam. There it is. All we have to do to start this crazy journey is hit record. And I'm so excited to introduce my guest today. She is amazing. And why am I excited and just a little bit nervous? She is one of the top voices in B2B marketing in Germany and the world. So we're streaming live over probably satellites and under the ocean, and we're going to have an amazing conversation. Who is she, Casey? Who is she? Well, B2B marketing leader and thought leader, a LinkedIn top voice, a revenue marketing mentor, decades plus of experience in inbound performance, all the different kinds of marketing, member of the Revenue Marketing Alliance and the Product Marketing Alliance, named as the Revenue Marketer to Watch in 2024. And now you get to hear her. Head of Marketing at Ordio, Britta Agel, welcome to the show.
Hi, Casey. I'm super excited to be here.
Man, you are just so busy there, and everyone is listening to you and watching you and watching what you do. And so I'm excited to learn from you today. I can't wait to ask you this first question, but I have to pass you something. It's heavy, but 1 second. Okay, here we go. Ugh. All right, go ahead. Grab Thor's hammer. You want to grab that? You got it? Okay. All right, now, Britta, take for me Thor's hammer and smash some kind of marketing myth, bogus strategy, misconception. Set the record straight once and for all.
I'm very happy to do that. It's about taking pipeline as the ultimate measure of marketing success. I can't hear it anymore. I mean, it is like judging the quality or the success of a restaurant by calculating or by counting how many people walk through the door. So you don't know if they actually order, if they eat the food, if they like it, or if they puke. That would be churn, right?
You never know. Or they hated it, right?
This is exactly what we do and how we get into a misconception here. So you already mentioned the term revenue marketing, and this is something which I'm like super thrilled about, to really shape marketing as a revenue driver and not as a cost center.
Okay, so shots fired here. We've got something going on. Okay, so let's talk to me more about what's going on. We're just looking at the numbers, all the numbers, or just the numbers that come in? You know, just like the top level numbers, and we are just forgetting about quality?
No, it's sure about quality. And I mean, of course, the development of tracking is something that we all know as marketers, and that's the irony of it. The better marketing becomes at influencing buyers, the more difficult it becomes to track. So that's for sure something that you need to be aware of. And of course, you need to work with what you have at hand. And that data is not always perfect and that you can't see every touch point, that's for sure. But my point is you need to be very sure about positioning marketing as the driver of revenue. And this is also something where you need to be like super well aligned with sales. And if you position yourself as marketing is delivering leads to the front door of sales, and then sales can do whatever they think is appropriate, then you make yourself smaller than you should be. So, of course, be aware of what you can work with, but then always try to connect it as much to revenue and as much to the bigger impact than you can.
Yeah, it's like we're taking a back seat. Or we're even just being like a delivery driver, just trying to. It makes it so tactical. We're not involved in the big picture. And then we're we're just shipping these things over. And I mean, how many times have I seen sales not follow up on a lead or not even call one at all?
Yeah, and that's about marketing taking the responsibility. So it's not like the Amazon delivery guy, like, here's a package, here you have 100 leads, and now I'm gone. But it's also really making sure that those leads are followed up in the right way, that you enable sales, and that you take the responsibility also of influencing opportunities. Because in B2B marketing, there are so many opportunities what you can do, especially if you talk about a bigger buyer group. Then you can do a lot of things like having a digital sales room or having personalized content that you can send over. So it's not like the job is done when the lead is delivered to sales, but there's still so much work to do.
Where does this come from? Like, why do we see this so much? What's the origin of this myth?
Well, to be honest, I mean, there is still an evolution of B2B marketing, and that's something that we can acknowledge. So if we look at the traditional B2B marketing, this is where we were looking at the number of activities and how much visibility we had, perhaps at how many trade fairs we were and with how many people. And that's for sure a good thing that we came to the next step, which is lead generation, where you were counting leads, and this was like the next success measure that you were taking. Then we went into the next phase, that was demand generation marketing. And this is where we came to the phase of taking opportunity as an ultimate KPI. And again, it is a development of where we were coming from as B2B marketing. But it's still something in the mid of the funnel, and where you need to be aware that pipeline is not always converting as much as you would like. So I think this myth about taking pipeline as the ultimate KPI is something where CMOs have also been trying to push as marketing being recognized more, but sometimes being also under pressure by other departments, by the CEOs, of not being able to report back on that fast enough. So it has been kind of a supporting metric just to be on the way. And then somehow there hasn't been enough patience to really, stay for the big thing, to count on the revenue.
Why do we lack the patience? Are we taking a cue from B2C and we're just trying to get that instant result, or where does it come from?
Nobody has patience anymore, do they?
Yeah, that might be true, actually.
I mean, and that's another problem, right? So who is fired earliest in the C-level at the moment? It's CMOs. And
Yeah.
this is because the pressure has become so much more, and all the expectations are increasing and increasing. And that's for sure something where this is like one step to already report about. It's about the opportunities, and that's something tangible. And it is an evolution of where we were coming from. But yeah, it's not enough.
It's not enough. And it's funny, you mentioned that CMOs tend to get fired the fastest. And, my thought was, man, I think CMOs need to get paid more. If we're going to be in the riskiest role, I think we need to get paid more. But put that aside. Okay, the evolution is what's going on here. I love that you brought that up and brought us back in time to when we were just trying to get the number, the quantity, and then eventually evolving to leads and opportunities. Where do you see this going? Where does it, if it keeps evolving, where do we end up?
Um, I mean, if we come to the full picture of positioning marketing as a real revenue center, this is where we are on complete eye level with sales and with customer success. So this is where we would all be as different departments as the revenue drivers. And I mean, what I already see developing is seeing these mixed teams more as go-to-market teams and not so much as sales and marketing. And I hope this is where we are heading, that we have like combined teams with their strength, and where we are all taking the responsibility for not only the revenue, but also the costs that we are driving. And you talked about CMOs being paid more. And I think this is also coming from, well, salespeople, you can connect directly to what revenue they are driving. And this is where you can balance it easily off. What do I pay them? What do I get from them? And with marketing people, it's not as easy. And this is why marketing people are usually paid less, But if we come into this like next step of go-to-market teams that have one single and common responsibility driving revenue to a good ROI, this is where they can also be more on eye level in their salary.
That makes sense. For those listening that haven't evolved as far as they'd like to, or maybe their organization hasn't evolved as far as they personally would like it as the marketer, what are the key strategies that help make marketing the revenue driver, not the cost center?
Yes, I love that you asked that, because the first one is definitely being obsessed with alignment with sales and customer success. So the go-to-market team, be really hyperlinked with them. So talk to them daily as a marketing person, and you get the same data. So something that I have often seen in the past is that sales and marketing are using different dashboards, perhaps even different systems. So I have worked a lot with HubSpot and Salesforce in the past. And of course, they are great systems to also sync in between, but still the numbers might be a little bit different. And this is where it's super hard to get out of that misconception. So always be sure that you have one dashboard that you look at, and then really try to find out what have been success factors that drove revenue, what have been leaks that have damaged our lead funnel on the way to revenue. What about churn? Are there any activities or campaigns that brought churn? So this is something where you really need to be super tight on that. And that makes me think of something when I was like a young little marketer, diving for the first time into real inbound marketing and doing my first connections with sales. So this is when we were driving a campaign for discounting. So we offered a discount for customers, for new customers. And I was skeptical at first, because for marketers, having just a pure discount campaign is not that sexy. But sales was like super excited, and guess what? It worked. So we got in a lot of new customers, and sales was super happy. And when we saw each other in the office, they were clapping us on the shoulders. But do
Really?
you know who we forget about?
Who?
The CSM team.
Oh,
So we
no.
didn't talk to the customer success team. And I was again a young little marketer. I was super happy. Oh, I'm so tight with sales now, and we're talking about that campaign. And then the CSM guys turn up like 3 weeks later, and they were like, all those customers you brought in with this shit discount campaign, they all churn. They are all shit.
Oh, no. Oh, no. They all churned.
Yeah, so this is where I learned the hard way. Always consider churn, and talk also to the CSM guys.
Do you think they would have told you that? Do you think CSM would have known that discounts bring in some of the worst customers?
Yes, I mean, sure. And this is also what I learned from this. So when you want to start whatever campaign, also talk to CSM what they think about it, and then measure that very, very closely, because you do so many activities to bring a customer in. And if you don't do everything that you can, that it's the right customer and that they get value from you, then it's worthless.
And I suppose your organization needs to be smart enough so that marketers are incentivized on all of those numbers, not just the initial. Otherwise, you did your job.
Totally.
Maybe just CSM was lazy and they just didn't do a good job. It's their fault. So you can certainly have the wrong setup. Like if your metrics didn't reflect, or if you didn't have a good working relationship eventually with CSM, then who cares?
And this is where we come back to a go-to-market team on eye level, where everybody works towards one common goal.
So we have to be obsessed with alignment. We have to have the go-to-market team. Everyone's on the same page. They're on the same level, that kind of thing. What else goes into building this structure?
You already mentioned quality, and that's for sure something that we need to take into account, and something that we can still make somehow measurable. So lead scoring is a great way to measure like the ladder to revenue. So, I mean, we hear a lot about like the MQL is dead, and this is not something that I believe in. I think having a really good process and funnel stages that you align again with sales is super important. That you need to measure how many leads, how many MQLs, how many sales accepted leads, etc., etc. But you need to be very aware of what good is the quality and not only the quantity. So if you have a good lead scoring in place, you can also work with forecasting and get a good understanding of what kind of leads you are bringing in and how much revenue they will eventually make. And this is where you can then also calculate like the sum of the revenue that the leads that you brought from a special campaign and not only the sheer quantity of the leads.
I mean, that can be tough, right? What if leadership is setting the wrong goals? Like even taking it all the way back to the goals level. If you set the goal too high, then your quality can be, it's that balance, right? How do you balance the quality versus the quantity? Or you just go all quality?
Of course, it needs to be somehow balanced out because you also need to take into account how many salespeople you need to serve. So if you have one super great hero lead that will bring like tons of thousands of dollars, then it's
Right.
still not effective in the way that you work together in the organization for sales. So that's definitely something that you still need to take into account and where you also need to plan how can you keep your sales team busy.
Yeah, I mean that's our job. Let's keep them busy, but let's keep them busy with the right kind of
With the
people.
right kind of people. And this is again measuring like every step of the funnel. For me, it's also super important to be close to the MQL to sales accepted conversion rate, because this is where you can prove again that you as a marketing organization are on eye level. Because if the conversion rate from MQL to sales accepted is like below 85%, I would say, then you are delivering leads to their front door, which is like, again, a waste of their time. And I think this is where marketing can become super efficient with all the data and also the tech stack that we have at hand. So really making sure that there are no spam leads in there, that we have like real organizations behind them, that we can already see from what companies do they come, in which segment and which vertical do they fall. So that's definitely marketing's job to ensure that for sales.
You mentioned the tech stack. What is your favorite type of tech in the marketing world? What is your least favorite?
Well, I'm a huge HubSpot fangirl, I must admit. So this is like the core of everything for me. Because HubSpot has become such a platform that you can, yeah, just plug in a lot of other tools.
And they've turned themselves into they do a lot now. Like they do so much.
Yeah.
So that's a good one to take. If you can only take one with you, that's a good one to take.
Yes, definitely. And yeah, I just like that you as a marketing person and as a whole marketing team, everybody can use the data. It's super easy to do reports and also to do any kind of automation. So that's really enabling a marketing team to, yeah, be self-sufficient. Um, so yeah, HubSpot is for sure something. I told you already, I've worked a lot in the setup of HubSpot and Salesforce as a combination with the salespeople working on Salesforce, and then we just have the data connection in between. If I could wish for something, then sales would also work directly with HubSpot. So again, looking at the same data, having the same processes. So yeah, my least favorite is definitely something where you have a setup of a lot of different tools that sales is using and that you need to plug into your marketing journey. So also talking
Oh
about the
yeah.
BDR, SDR team that has something else on top that is again connected to Salesforce. I think this is where we're making the world more complicated than it should be.
Yeah, the idea of a sales enablement tool, like there's a reason marketers exist. The idea of giving a sales rep the ability to mass email 1,000 people a terrible email. I don't know. I don't know if that's the way necessarily. But yeah, the idea of a sales enablement tool, it's a good idea, but it can quickly devolve into just like the worst reach outs and more unsubscribes you could possibly imagine.
Yes, for sure.
For me, I think it's ABM software. I think the idea of ABM is great, but a lot of times I like the idea of intent data and that kind of thing. But a lot of the times I think when we're just selling display ads, which are the worst ads, um, it's like we're decorating a pig, you know? We're making it pretty, which is a controversial take because I know a lot of people love themselves some ABM, but I think there's a lot of marketing to marketers involved in that tech, you know?
I did have a look at Sixth Sense. You talk about MBM tools, and this is where I was positively surprised. So that definitely gave a good insight into where you have audiences that are ready to buy. And something that I really found super helpful was the AI SDR. So like an AI program that can take off all the email cadences that you need for outbound and also for taking on the inbound MQLs.
Tell me more about that. So is it like it's instead of an SDR, it's just an AI that handles all those?
Yes. So of course, this sounds bad for any kind of SDR, BDR in the world. But with any kind of AI tool, I think it's a great opportunity for also SDRs, BDRs to focus more on where they can bring in their personal power. Because yeah, just turning on all those automation cadences is not something that anybody dreams of at night.
I know. That's true. That's true. Anything else that we left out of the recipe for crafting this revenue marketing? I don't know if I left anything out.
I mean, it's not technology, but just having mentioned it, revenue operations is definitely something that should be taken into account for the whole go-to-market motion. Uh,
Can you tell me more about what that is? Because I've definitely seen that come up, and I think I know what that means, but I'm not totally sure.
I mean, revenue operations is like the merger already between marketing operations and sales operations. So the
Got
experts
it.
who can take care of getting the right data in, getting the right setup of connecting data, setting up automations, um, all of this. And this is where I also saw this as different functions as marketing operations and sales operations. And then revenue operations, again, is taking that into account that you can't just set something up only for marketing and then it stopped there. And then there is a sales operations manager that handles like the next step. So that's definitely already a good progress on, yeah, helping enable everyone with the right data and with the right processes.
Yeah. Okay. Have you seen what's the recipe for doing RevOps the right way?
I mean, let me tell you this. When at one of my last companies, we introduced the concept of revenue operations. It was driven by our head of strategy, and he wanted to incorporate this like new motion of having that as a combined process. And I was super hesitant because I had the best marketing operations expert in the world. And I didn't want to let him go in any kind of like line function and having him move away. And this is like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it sounds good. And in theory, I really support this idea of having like one team that takes care of everything. But still, my marketing operations guy is so good. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I had to let that go and, yeah, be aware of we need to have one team that takes into consideration the whole buyer's journey. And to that time, the
Right.
big challenge that we had was taking care that the leads were taken care of in the right way. So we already talked about that in the beginning. So it's not marketing, just putting a parcel in front of the sales door. Here are the leads, but you need to make sure that they are taken on. And this is something where revenue operations also comes in to also prepare the right reports, to prepare the right reminders, to prepare like everything that the BDR or the SDR team has to really be quick on getting back to those leads. And this is where you can, have very philosophical conversations about should that be marketing operations that takes care that those leads are taken on, or should it be sales operation? Revenue. I mean, we did it with marketing operations because remember, my marketing operations guy was like the best in the world.
Right. He was like wizard. Yeah.
But here it is again. At revenue operations, you don't need to like debate on that. It's just we need to make sure that leads are handled quickly by sales because otherwise we will never get to that revenue.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I remember working with a group called EF. I think they're out of Sweden, but they're a global organization, and they did this study where if the SDRs, if sales, responded, and they did a whole time graph, if they responded within 10 minutes first, and also the first hour, things went well. And then after that, just like a very steep cliff of success that would happen after that. And for them, it was because the people that they were working with were teachers. And so when they filled out a form, it meant they probably were free to have a call to chat. But give it, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, maybe they're back into their schedule now. So it was like you needed to strike while the iron was hot.
Totally. And there are a lot of surveys that prove exactly your point. The faster you are, the better it is. But I still don't know any company that has this under control. So there are always leads that you find in your CRM and where you find like, oh, this guy hasn't been called like for 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. One time we had these two forms. We had a long form, like an organic form. It was this terrible form. And so we made a really short one for a pay-per-click campaign. It was really short, sweet, to the point, just a couple fields, like name, email, phone, one thing, done, not 12, 14, like stupid 20 fields. And it converted people much faster, much easier. But then someone in big corporate did a report that showed, well, at the end of the day, those leads that were coming in the short form, none of them are converting, or they're converting very poorly. And these other ones that fill out 20 fields, they're converting really well. And so the organization said, well, maybe we should make all of our forms 20 fields long. And I was like, no, don't. Come to find out, I went and I sat with sales. They didn't realize, you mentioned, not talking to CSM. No one had told sales that we had a short form. They thought that it was a long form, and the people only chose to fill out a small piece of it. So they looked at those leads as being garbage leads that didn't take the time to fill the whole thing out. So they were leaving them. No one was even calling them because they thought they were low quality leads, but they didn't realize they didn't have a chance to fill out more. And like we had to have a conversation with sales to figure that out.
Yeah, interesting. But I mean, filling out a large form, it does show commitment for sure. And it's also something that we see with lead ads, for example. So if you just look at CPLs and conversion numbers, you would always do much more LinkedIn lead ads or Google lead ads. But yeah, the conversion to revenue is normally what I've seen very poor.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Well, my next question really is like, who are you? Who are you? How do you know all these things? Can you take me back in time, like little Britta days? What was it like? Did you know you're going to be a marketing leader, teaching everyone all over the world how to do marketing? What was it like?
No, for sure not. So if we go back to like real little Britta, I wanted to become a printer like my dad.
A printer?
Yes, he has a printery of his own. And this is where he did like everything that you could put on anywhere in a shop, and you were informed about like the next events that were going on in the city. So yeah, I think this was more like me wanting to do the same as my dad.
Yeah, for sure.
But then next step, I wanted to become actually a journalist. So I did some internships at a radio station and at the local newspaper. And I think this is where I already found out that I do like media and that I do like content. But I got a really good tip by a journalist that I was meeting during my internship at a radio station. And he said, well, if you want to study, then study something for real first, because you can still learn how to do journalism. And this is like by doing it, but you don't need to study journalism. So this is where I found, okay, you should not look for any kind of university to study journalism, but do something concrete first. And this is where I came like into business studies. And I wanted to combine business studies, which I thought would be super dry to that time, with something more fun. So I chose international business, where I could also weave into English and Spanish as languages, and where you had more of a focus. Yeah, what is international business? What does it look like? What are like connections in the world? So that's something that I really found interesting. And then I got into touch with marketing during the studies. And this is where I felt, okay, now it all makes sense. Now everything is coming together. And then especially B2B marketing is where you could focus even more on like real value, real content. So this is what I always found more attractive in B2B marketing instead of B2C marketing, because you could focus on the customer and how can you really build long-lasting relationships, and not so much only the promotion part that you would do perhaps more a little bit in B2C marketing.
Yeah, I feel the same way. There's something about B2B marketing. And I love that you mentioned that. I mean, more of the focus on the customer. It's you're stuck with them longer, right? If they regret the purchase of that milkshake or that candy bar or the hair product, they just won't get it again. But if they make a mistake on a B2B, SaaS deal or something like that, more people are impacted and the churn impacts people. Yeah, it just feels more important. It feels more weighty.
Yeah, I mean, where B2C marketing is for sure better normally is branding. So I think in the past years, B2B has learned that they also need to focus more on branding. But if you look at the big B2C brands, do they really talk about the value? I would say not. So they are still positioning their things in a good way, but it's not the real value that you get out of it.
Right. Right. Yeah, that makes total sense. Well, hey, I have a bit of a hypothetical question for you. Here we go. So, you need to know something about me. I may or may not have a time machine here in New Hampshire, right? So, let's say you come do inbound, you do HubSpot's event. Well, I'm just a little bit drive north. You drive north and we get to use the time machine, right? That's a particular kind of time machine where you get to go back in time and meet yourself a couple days after getting out of school. The international studies, the marketing, that kind of thing. You get to go meet yourself. Talk to that Britta. Like, what do you tell yourself? What kind of advice would you give yourself?
I would definitely say be more patient and believe in yourself. So when I came out of university, I was overwhelmed with all the opportunities that you had, like in the real working world. I did always work besides university, so I did always do a half-time job because it was important for me to already learn how you can actually work and not only like learn the theory in university, but still coming onto the job market and seeing like all the different job descriptions and what kind of requirements you should bring. This is what scared me a lot. And this is where I thought,
Yeah.
okay, I'm never gonna do this. So, whoa.
Right. Wow. Wow. So be patient, but also know that you got this. Believe in yourself. That's powerful.
Yes, if you want to keep on learning, I think you can master almost everything. And having this
Mhm.
attitude is, I think, something that brought the success along the way. That I did always want to improve myself and do something better today than I did yesterday. But yeah, it was not always easy, and you also needed to be aware of this.
No. Yeah. Wow. Wow. Well, this has been absolutely fantastic. Where, if people want to reach out and connect with you, where do you want them to go?
You mean locally?
Uh, well, that's a great yeah, next time there's a carnival or something, but no, like, if they wanna reach out, they heard this interview and they wanna connect with you, like, is LinkedIn a good place
Yes,
for that or
LinkedIn is definitely the place to go. So I would say quite active on LinkedIn. So I'm there several times a
well,
day.
yeah, you're top voice on the planet in marketing.
Yeah, I mean, I must give like a huge kudos to our social media managers at my past company at Spryker, because this is where we wanted to push everyone in the company to become more of an advocate. And yeah, if you want other people to do so, you need to eat your own dog food. And this is where you also need to show that you are a role model and that you can do it yourself. And this is where I also try to step out of my comfort zone and prepare more posts and just condense your learnings into LinkedIn posts.
Smart, smart, and it's working, and here we are, and now
Yes.
we're chatting, and then more people will come listen to you. Right? And so there'll be a link, to you in the show notes. People can click through and click connect, but don't be a stranger. Make sure when you send that connection, you say, "I heard you on the podcast." Absolutely fantastic. Britta, thank you so much for being on here. I learned a ton. I had so much fun chatting about getting marketing out of being a cost center and really making sure we're evolving ourselves into being what marketing really can be these days. So much fun and so much learning. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really enjoyed our conversation. And yeah, it's my favorite topic. So thanks for listening to it.
Absolutely. Well, my favorite topic too. Well, for those listening, if you learned something, and I freaking know you did because I literally have 2 pages of notes over here, front and back, then share this with someone. One person, 3 people, nine, 3,000. It doesn't matter. But even just who needs to hear this? Does someone need a little evolution in their marketing? Do you have a friend in marketing who's still maybe a couple generations behind? Let's get them this information. Maybe they're focused on quantity and not quality. Let's get them this information so they can improve that. And with that, Britta, thank you so much for being on here.
You're welcome. And thanks to you.
Absolutely. This has been another crazy cool, very exciting episode of the Hardcore Marketing Show. We will see you all next time.